And this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, talking business from my home office today in White Plains, New York, and another edition of our Talking Business interview series, talking with bankers, insurance executives, customer service professionals, business educators, and all highlighting the efforts of our team based in Harrison, New York, which provides insurance-based benefits to the consumer banking industry for almost 30 years, and the great job our team did taking care of our customers and clients during the COVID-19 period. And today we are very glad to have a banker from New York State, from Tioga State Bank, Robert M. Fisher, joining us today, President and CEO. Also, incoming National Chairman-elect of the Independent Community Bankers Association of America, Notre Dame grad, and very proud to say a veteran of the United States Air Force out of the ROTC program. Mr. Fisher, good to chat with you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be able to join you this morning and talk. So,
very good. Well, tell us a little bit about what the last two or 3 months have been for you since mid-March, when the COVID situation really began to cause shutdowns and closing of so much of the American economy. What has it been like for you and your customer area in upstate New York?
well, as you know, being a New Yorker, also everything was completely shut down. So I think there's a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty in with our customers, and we had closed our lobbies. We've been operating with a drive-up only, but with the gradual reopening, we're in phase 3 up here in the southern tier. And so I think with the gradual opening, we can kind of see a little light at the end of the tunnel. We've reopened our lobbies back on June 5th. And so we're starting to feel a little positive about and hopeful about the future and coming out of this.
Very good.
I'm a little nervous about seeing some of the, spikes in some other parts of the country. So hopefully we've done things to curtail it here in New York.
Sure. Now, one of the things that, it's been a very positive story. We've talked to some local bankers, John Tollimer of the Westchester Bank, Kevin O'Connor of B&B Bank out on Long Island in particular, was the efforts to help small businesses, existing customers and new customers to apply for the government benefit, the CARES Act, Payroll Protection Act, and it really helped thousands of small businesses in each market around the country. How is it for you? How did you see the Payroll Protection Program helping some of your customers?
Well, it's been a journey, that's for sure. So I think I've heard the PPP described as flying a plane from New York City to Los Angeles, and you're building it as you're flying, because that's really the way it's been. They've continued to issue guidance and through this process to get us so we understand what we're doing. But PPP has been really, it's a lifeline that we've been able to extend to a lot of our small business customers. I'm really happy to say that we've made almost 500 loans here in the southern tier of New York for about 38.2 million so far. We're still receiving applications today and approving loans, not as quickly as we were on the front end, but we've saved or protected almost close to 6,000 jobs here in the southern tier. So,
well, that's so important, and you're one of your roles, and you're very active with it already, is with the National Independent Community Bankers Association, which you will assume you are the chairman-elect. Will take office on that role next March. But your organization's been very active. Noah Wilcox, the current chairman, was part of a conference call with President Trump earlier this year on what bankers could do to help businesses. And tell us a little bit about how the Independent Bankers Association has jumped in on this to help the American economy.
I think ICBA has really been trying to promote making it easy, making the process clearly defined, and helping us get money to our customers that need it. And I think, community bankers from around the country have all stepped up. I mean, we all worked late nights, weekends, and trying to get this money out to our customer base. And I think really community banks excelled at this program because we're small, we're nimble, we have relationships with our customers, and we have a vested interest in seeing them succeed. So I think, and we're used to manual entry processes, which this was a very manual entry process, especially on the front end. So, I think ICBA's been great about sharing information with community bankers around the country and just trying to facilitate that information exchange and get clarity from the government on how PPP is working. We're still working on the forgiveness piece, trying to get some clarity there. We were promised an easy forgiveness process, and when they originally came out with the 11-page application for forgiveness, that was anything but an easy process. So we're glad to see that they've taken some of the guidance and directives and some of the information that we've shared with the government to, they just came out with a short form. I think it's 3 pages for the forgiveness application for some loans. We're still trying to get a presumptive compliance so that forgiveness of loans under $1 million, we would be happy even with a smaller threshold, but just give small businesses the ability to get that money and have it forgiven, which is really what the process was all about from the start. So
what was it like for you and your team having to learn what the requirements would be and the procedures for the Payroll Protection Act on the fly? Literally when many companies were having to shift their employee workforce to work at home, which was a big adjustment. Working with the Small Business Administration to identify what the rules would be and procedures, and then trying to qualify as many of your customers for the program in a narrow window. How is that all for you? How did you lead your team through that process?
Well, at that point, I was working remotely from home. We had split our team up, so a lot of us were, as you said, working remotely. So it's definitely a challenge working remotely to lead your team, but we were pretty determined to get through it and help our customer base out. And so it's definitely been a challenge with the ever-changing guidance coming from Treasury and SBA, but it's been really rewarding to see businesses that are thanking us and making sure that they had that lifeline to help their customers and help their employees, keep jobs and keep their business alive. So.
Absolutely. Now, the president signed legislation to extend the benefits and to change them slightly to lengthen the time period that the benefits would apply, and then also to decrease the percent slightly on that would go to payroll, so that other expenses such as rent for facilities could be covered. Why has that been something important? Is that going to help a lot of businesses, do you think?
It should help a lot of businesses. So the original forgiveness window was an 8-week look back. So now it's a 24-week period for the forgiveness. So between payroll and some of the other expenses, so the payroll was supposed to be 75% of the reimbursable forgiveness, and they reduced that to 60%. So I just think the combination of the extended window of the look back and also the allowing more other expenses to be included will help most every business get that total forgiveness of the loan that we made to them. So we're very pleased with that aspect of the changes.
Now, sir, how is in your region? Obviously, you've got the tourism season starting up in the beautiful Finger Lakes area of New York State, and you've got so many colleges and universities in your area. You're based in Ithaca, where Cornell would be, and the agricultural part of the state too. What is it? How do you see the reopening, and what does it really take to get the economy going again in your region?
Obviously, tourism is a very important piece of the Finger Lakes economy. So we're very excited to see. I think we can get into phase 4 next week here in the Southern Tier and the Finger Lakes region. So we're excited to see that. I mean, I think we just need to get things rolled back out and get opened and we need to be cautionary and make sure we're not spreading the virus. But I just think we need to get business back open and small businesses going again, so we get people working again and people spending money. So, but the tourism aspect and some of the hospitality is still worrisome for us as far as how that's going to reopen and the timeliness of that. So.
Absolutely. And maybe you could mention a little bit about Tioga State Bank, some of the services, both consumer and commercial, that you offer. I know you've got a lot of community involvement initiatives in your area. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the activities, some of the services of your bank and programs.
Well, if our bank is, you know, we try and kind of be all things to all people here in the Southern Tier. So we do a lot of mortgage lending. We do a lot of 1 to 4 family residential mortgage lending, but we also we're a commercial bank. So our bread and butter and kind of our typical customer is a lot of small business. We do a lot of commercial real estate. We also do a lot of C&I lending. So we've got a few other arms. We have a investment services business that does you know, investment planning, retirement planning for folks. So we pretty much offer the full array of financial services for our customer base.
One of the questions I have for you, and I ask bankers who have long tenure in their careers, is how do you keep up with the technology? In the period that you and I both have worked in different elements of banking, we've had so much growth of ATMs, online banking, mobile banking. I saw on your website you have a very sophisticated mobile app for customers, and you're working on security systems and obviously keeping your website up to date. How do you do that? How does a smaller regional bank do that when, you know, trying to meet the expectations of customers that see what Citi and Chase are offering?
Well, I think we offer all the same products that Chase and Citi offer, but we obviously can't build those resources internally. We have to partner with other businesses. You know, we use Jack Henry and some of the other core processors to help us provide some of those services so that we can keep up with the big banks. And I think we do a really good job of providing all those same services, you know, between mobile banking, online banking, and cash management services for our customers that they need. So, but we do rely a lot on third parties to help us with that.
Okay. And you've been very active with the Independent Community Bankers Association of America nationally, the incoming chairman next year. And maybe you could just tell us a little bit about the history and some of the key roles of the organization. I know you try to keep a strong presence in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, ICBA is really about advocating for community banks and trying to differentiate community banking from the big banks of the country, because it's really, I'm not sure people always understand. They think a bank is a bank is a bank, and there's a big difference in our business models. Obviously, the big banks are very volume driven, efficiency driven. As a community bank, we're very relationship focused, and I think ICBA has helped differentiate and help people understand, you know, a little bit about the differences between a community bank and a big bank. And just, you know, as a relationship driven bank, we're dedicated to working with our customers through good times and bad. And so, like with this COVID thing and the PPP challenges, you know, we've been there for our customers, and we as I said before, you know, we were working nights, weekends, trying to make sure we were going to get that money for our customers, and that's what we did.
And I know you personally have visited Capitol Hill and testified before the House Financial Services Committee on your thoughts on regulations. Maybe you could just mention some of the key initiatives there and some of the regulations, some of the positions on regulations that your organization has.
Well, we continue to push for reg relief for community banks because our business models are very different. You know, a big bank can shift their costs and their compliance costs over millions of customers versus community banks where that cost may be so much proportionately higher per customer because we have so fewer customers that we're serving. I mean, we have thousands versus millions of customers. So it's trying to get some of that reg relief and make it proportional to our business models. And we shouldn't be held to the same standard that a Chase or a Bank of America is held to. It should be a different standard for community banks. And so it's just trying to work for proportional regulations and tiered regulations that match the business model and the business risk that we pose to the system.
Okay, and getting back to your bank that you have and the national organization, you have a lot of community service projects in place, scholarship programs, a program to award special community projects that have helped examples of first responders and financial coaching and tax assistance. What are some examples of some of the community activity projects that you have at Tioga State Bank and some that the national organization has recognized?
Yeah, I'm really proud. We just started a community foundation, or a foundation that's going to provide charitable contributions to our organization. We're taking 5% of our net income annually and putting it into this foundation that will support a lot of local not-for-profits. In fact, we just made some substantial donations to 3 of our local hospitals to help with some of the relief that they've been doing during this COVID outbreak. And hospitals have been hardly hit with this, with not being able to do some of the other services that they typically do during this situation. So it's been a real financial burden on many hospitals. So Tioga State Bank, one of our core values is care for our community. So we do, we offer volunteer time off to our employees so they can take a day off and go volunteer at a local, charity or not-for-profit. We do a lot of things, and ICBA is similarly focused, trying to give scholarships to help educate people on financial assistance and things like that. And one of the things initiatives that I'd like to take when I go into the chairs is to help increase some of the financial literacy for high school kids, because I see a lot of kids today that don't necessarily understand the financial basics when they're leaving high school. And there really should be, kids should understand, how to balance a checking account, how to understand what a credit score means to them long-term, and some things like that. Basically, how to apply for a loan and things like that.
Certainly, and recognition that your bank, Tioga State Bank, received from the American Banker the last 2 years as being one of the best banks to work for in America 2 years in a row. Tell us a little bit about that recognition and some of the ways that you make Tioga State Bank a great place to work.
Well, we're very focused on our culture here at Tioga State Bank, and so we try and do a lot of things to make work enjoyable for our employees. But we, we focus a lot on culture. Culture is really important. We want to have happy employees so that they happily serve our customers, and it's been a big focus for us for a number of years, and we applied for the recognition of best banks to work for. The first time we applied was 2018, and we made it in, and so we were very happy to get that recognition, because we do think it's a great place to work.
Well, that's terrific. Now, one of the things that I always like to ask my guests about their career, and another special aspect of your career before over almost 30 years in banking, is coming out of Notre Dame and the ROTC program. You served in the United States Air Force. Maybe tell us a little bit about your time in the Air Force. And we spent a lot of time on my veteran shows talking about how veterans transition from military experience to civilian occupations and careers, and some find it difficult. Tell us a little bit about what you learned in the Air Force and how it's helped you in banking.
I think, as we chatted about when we first got on the call, it's one thing is I'm always 10 minutes early to most meetings, because that was kind of ingrained in me from early on in my Air Force career. I think it's, the military gives you a sense of discipline. So I think that's discipline is very helpful in life. So as you said, I was in the United States Air Force. I was a C-141 navigator. I always, as a child, had dreams of being a pilot. Unfortunately, I didn't have 20/20 vision. So the Air Force did let me fly, but just as a navigator instead of as a pilot. So the transition back, so I left the Air Force active duty in September of '92 to come back to the bank. I never, if you'd asked me in high school or college, I would have told you I was never going to go back to the family business. I am a fifth generation community banker. My great-great-grandfather started the bank in Spencer in 1884. But my dad was having some health issues, decided to come back to the bank in '92 after a short stint in the Air Force. Loved the military. It was one of the best experiences I've had. I loved flying, got to see a lot of parts of the world. Transitioning back was fairly easy for me. The only thing is when I pull into the bank parking lot, nobody was there to salute me. So that was the biggest difficulty I think I encountered coming back.
Well, that's so important to see how veterans are able to transition back, and you certainly did it very successfully, a role model for veterans. Maybe tell us a little bit, we talked about a little bit about the evolution of technology in banking over the past nearly 30 years of your career. What have been some of the milestones, ups and downs, 9/11, 2008 bank, Wall Street crash? What have been some of the key moments and the way that you were able to help your organization react and help your customers?
I think, I've always been pretty technologically I won't say bleeding edge, but leading edge. And so I think I've pushed our bank. We had online banking back in 1998 before it was really a thing. I remember one of the first jobs I had when I started at the bank when I was in high school. I had a back office job, and I remember filing checks by hand in little account tabs because at that point we were still returning checks to our customers. And I'm like, man, if we can ever get rid of this will be the best thing since sliced bread if we can get rid of checks. So when we went to imaging and stopped returning checks, to me that was a big milestone. And obviously it doesn't, most people don't understand that big change, but it was a pretty massive change for us to go to truncation and then to being able to give people images of their checks. But I think technology, you need to stay at the forefront of it to make sure that you offer the same products and services that the larger banks in the country do, because people demand it today. It's especially during this COVID break, you needed to have a good mobile banking platform. You needed to have good online banking and be able to serve customers other than just face to face, because people weren't coming into the offices.
That's for sure. Is there, when you look at banking going forward, as you said, more and more technology, mobile apps are becoming more sophisticated. Customer experience could change from COVID-19, less in-person service. What do you see as some of the elements of the future of banking?
I think I see, especially for community banks, I see us continuing to partner with a lot of fintech companies to be able to offer basically high tech, but also high touch solutions for our customer bases. And I know ICBA, that's one of the initiatives that they've been working on with the Venture Center in Little Rock, Arkansas. Each year for the past, I think they've done it for 2 years or 3 years now, they brought in 10 to 12 fintech companies that have worked through about a 12-week process in Little Rock. And then they have a kind of a graduation ceremony at the end, but it's all companies that provide a lot of value to community banks and let us provide some pretty unique solutions for our customers and helping us provide those high-tech, high-touch solutions.
Okay. Hey, got to ask you a little bit about Notre Dame, being a graduate of the school there and being in the ROTC program. What was the Notre Dame experience like for you?
That was a great 4 years of my life. Of course, my senior year, we won the national championship. So it doesn't get much better than that, although it's been kind of downhill since then. But no, it was a fantastic, 4 years of my life in South Bend, Indiana. I was fortunate enough to meet my wife there. She is also a Notre Dame grad. So we have very fond memories of the school. So.
Well, we certainly enjoy the games. I cover Army football, and some of the games against Notre Dame in recent years are certainly a highlight. Really a pleasure to talk with you today, Robert Fisher, President and CEO of Tioga State Bank. Do you have a final thought for us today on how banks are going to be helping their customers to get out of past the COVID-19 situation?
Well, I think, community banks as relationship bankers, as I said before, we work with our customers during the good times and the bad. And so I encourage people to make sure they know their banker, have a relationship, and, find somebody that's going to be willing to work with you when things are great and when things are not so great, because that's really important. So.
Well, we appreciate the chance to talk with you and hear about your career and perspective. Robert M. Fisher, President and CEO of Tioga State Bank, Binghamton, Ithaca, New York area, who will be is the chairman-elect of the Independent Community Bankers Association. America will take over that role next year. Notre Dame grad, fifth-generation banker, and to us at a veteran of the United States Air Force, ROTC graduate. Really a pleasure to talk with you today and hear a little bit about your perspective on banking.
Well, thank you so much, Ken. It's been great. I've enjoyed it.
Our pleasure. And this is Ken Kraetzer again for CBSI Services based in Harrison, New York, and our team taking care of our customers and clients did a great job through COVID-19. Our company providing insurance-based benefits to the consumer banking and payments industry. So again, appreciation and thanks to Robert M. Fisher from Tioga State Bank. And again, Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.